Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Nape, and this is the place where braiders learn how to take their braiding skills and turn them into business success. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to part out your jumbo knotless braids. For every set of knotless that I do, I'm always going to start off with this cross parting. So you're going to do a part right down the middle of the head, and then from ear to ear, go right across. So of course there's multiple ways to approach this, but for me, I like to have 2 rows in the back for my jumbo knotless. Now the good thing about parting the sections this way is that it allows for you to work with the rows in half sections. So for those of you who are struggling with parting, this is one of those ways that you don't have to be overwhelmed by trying to get a straight part all the way across, because you could use the sections in order to help you just get the foundation laid. So once you have your 2 sections parted, then you can just take the end of your comb to clean it up. Now I like to use the Magic Finger Studios parting comb. This comb actually has a nice pointed tip, which really helps when it comes to cleaning up your part. And it also has measurements on the tail of the comb as well. So if you're in need of a good parting comb, I can definitely leave the link in my description. This first row really does lay the foundation for the rest of the style, so don't be afraid to take your time and make sure that that row is straight. Parting it this way for jumbo also works really well because this first row is going to be 2 braids. So basically doing it this way, our 2 sections are already established. Now let's get into the second row. This is where our bricklaying is going to start. So we're going to use our first row as a guide, and in that first section, I'm using the middle of it as a guide to make my first part in the second row. And now we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. So we're going to use the middle of the section from the first row to create the next part of the second row. So now our first row has 2 braids, and our second row is going to have 3 braids. And the middle braid of the second row is going to lay right in between the 2 braids of the first row. Another very important thing when it comes to clean parting is making sure that your client's hair is completely detangled. This is when I like to use a wide tooth comb for the best results. So now to the top part. When I do jumbo knotless, there's always going to be 3 sections on each side of the middle part, because remember, we're still working in half sections. One of the greatest misconceptions about jumbo knotless braids is that because of their size, they get mistaken to be quick and effortless. But I actually find it to be quite the opposite, because to me, the bigger the parts, the cleaner they need to be. So you can see here that I'm going to use my gel, and I'm going to use the tip of my comb and also the tail of my comb to make sure that these parts are as straight as possible. So in this first row, there's going to be 3 braids, and I like to use the top of the ear as a guide for my first section. And for the 2 remaining rows at the top, I'm going to part right in the middle of the width of the hair that's remaining. At this point, you just want to follow the curvature of your client's head in order to end up with the U shape at the top. Now on this row, we're gonna part out 3.5 braids. And the reason why we're only gonna do half is because this is going to be the braid that falls in the middle of the row beneath it. But in order for everything to be brick laid out, we can only take half of a section from this side, but we'll go and get the other half when we get to the other side. So now for right now, we're gonna do exactly like we did on the bottom, and we're using the middle of the section underneath in order to create the sections for this row. For the top section, there's going to be 3 braids on each side. So when parting out the top, of course you want your sections to be even, but you don't want to line them up exactly with the parts that are underneath. So I like to try to offset the part as much as I can to make sure that they're even, but that they're not stacked exactly above the parts that are beneath it. So now that we are basically at the halfway mark, let's do a little recap of how many braids we have parted out so far. So we have 3 in this row, another 3 in the second row here, 3 in this row, and then we have 5 underneath that were parted already. So that's 14 braids altogether so far. Now time for the easy part, which is just to match up the rows on the opposite side, which is why I like having the middle part there from the beginning, because it stands as such a clear guide that allows me to see exactly where each row starts and stops. If you're finding this video helpful so far, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications so that you don't miss an upload. So just a little something to remember. When the part is in the middle of the sections, you're always going to have an equal amount of braids on each side. So just like we had 3 braids on the other side of this part, we're going to do 3 braids on this side of the part. And it will always alternate. So when we get to the next row, I'll show you again what it's going to look like when you have a braid in the middle instead of the part being in the middle. So in order to get that middle braid, here is where we're going to gather the other half from this section. So when we parted that 3.5 braids, this is where we come back on the other side to get the other half. And then we're going to have 3 braids on this side of our middle braid. So this row has 7 braids all together, 3 on each side with 1 in the middle. And once we get to the top, we're just going to line everything up using the previous parts to create our remaining 3 sections. And this is going to give us a total of 6 braids at the top. And with that completed, our jumbo knotless braids have a total of 24 braids. I really hope you found this video helpful, and make sure that you stay tuned because I will be dropping a tutorial on exactly how I finish the style. So as always, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.